Welcome to day 15 of the Inktober Zentangle challenge. Before we start with today's drawing, I wanted to pause for a moment and just check in with you guys. I know if you're like most people, you might be feeling the pressure of project burnout or halfway woes or whatever you want to call it. But many times when you start a project like this, the cares of life will come along, grab a hold, and throw you off track. You'll get behind a few days and then you think, I'm not even going to worry about it. Or maybe this is the first video in the series that you've picked up and that you've clicked on. And you're thinking, oh man, 15 days in, I'm not going to start this thing. I'll never catch up. Let me just say, you can. That's why they're videos, and that's why they're always going to be there for you to use, so that this does not become a pressure. So let me just encourage you and say, if you're feeling a little overwhelmed, even if it's just a time factor, not a skill issue or anything like that, don't let it bog you down. Stick with it. You'll be very glad that you did. Well, the tangle for day 15 is called Puffle by Sandy Hunter, and we're going to show you how to draw that in a moment, but I wanted to point out something in case you have these tools available that you may want to try. You can use a single pen and your normal pencil for shading and so on, no problem. But I'm going to try using a larger nib pen for the outside or the base pattern, and then I'm going to use my finest little pen, or one of my finest, for the inside portions where we're creating aura lines. I think it will help create a nice variance in those line weights, but it also will make it easier to do those inner auras that are part of this pattern. With that said, let's jump into where we're going to do this. I'll clear my debris here, and I've decided to put this puffle shape or pattern right up here in this area. And so that's where we're going to focus the drawing. Now, it might be helpful too, as we start, to give yourself a guideline if you're going to try to keep these shapes roughly the same height all the way across. I'm thinking that I need these to be about a ½ inch or slightly larger to make them reasonably good size to work with and to still create a pattern that we can see across. So I'm going to draw a light line, just a little curved arc that comes around here and makes that ½ inch point in a consistent way. At least that's the hope. So I'm going to take my 08, which is my larger nib. I'll just show you here real quickly. You can see the comparison of these sizes. One is quite a bit larger than the other, and it just helps to make a nice difference in our line weight. So we're going to come over here, and the puffle shape can be done in a few different varieties. It can be a single teardrop. It can be almost a double teardrop or heart shape. We can do 3 little bumps, which I'll show you in a moment. Or you can do a random assortment of all the above, or 4, etc. I think I'm going to try to focus on the 2 bumps, the heart shape, and occasionally maybe add a 3rd one if I need to help curve it around this arc. But let's see what we've got here. So I'm going to assume we kind of start here, we come up, and we get this heart shape, and it comes down. And then we just reconnect it here at the base. And here now I'm going to maybe do one of the 3 shapes just to get that other curve over there a little bit. Maybe one more like that. No, I think I can do the heart. Let's do another one right here with the 3 bumps. Just creating a little variety, turning my sheet here. Like that. So we've got our basic shape there, the basic outline of this pattern. And now I'm going to switch to my smaller pen, and we're going to start doing those inner auras. Now, the original step out, the author calls for it and says, make sure you keep an even space around the edges or the outside of your inner aura. Now, I'm sure there's no police that are going to come after us if we violate that. but it might help us to have a more consistent and uniform looking pattern when we're done if we try to obey that suggestion. So I'm going to bring my aura in, and it goes right back down there like that, and then we're doing a second aura like so. So just kind of creating that inner line that goes right back down to the center. And then if you've got the room, trace out another aura. This is one of those patterns that for me, if I were filling a large area with this pattern, I could really get into the Zen flow of things here and kind of space out, because you're just doing the exact same loops over and over, and really gets you into that Zen flow, as some artists call it. That happens to me too when I'm doing sketching of a different type, when I'm doing more elaborate drawings of science fiction characters or something like that, and I find myself cross-hatching sometimes for hours to create the shadows and the shading effect, and that cross-hatching really helps me get in the zone, so it's kind of fun to do that. Well, there is the Puffle in its basic form. Now I'm going to do a couple additional things here. One is I'm going to ink in these bottom areas where there's a gap between the Puffle and my other Tangle. And you'll notice that I did that here too. On the day that we did Zenith, this shape down here, I left those open thinking that I was going to do something different with it at the end. And also these I left open too. But I decided in this area, since I already had this black ink behind this pattern, that it might look more uniform and give me some real contrast and drama over here to use that ink that way. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. And just ink behind, or I'm sorry, underneath, between these two patterns. All right, it looks like I got all my inked spots there. I guess I could do a little bit right here, just where that other piece is hidden. Now with the shading, this one you could shade along curves. You could try to shade some sort of layering effect on both the top and the bottom and leave a white or unshaded area in the center. But I think because of these juncture points here on all of these little shapes, it already creates a subtle sense of darkness in shadow versus this outer area. So I'm going to accentuate that by adding some of the graphite into these areas here, in the little tips of the hearts, if you will. And when I blend that, it should further accentuate that natural hint of darkness that was there in this shape as we drew it. And so there we go with our full composition thus far here on day 15. We just finished adding the Puffle Tangle right up there. At least that's where I added mine. And Gayle, how did yours come out?
I added mine there too.
You did? Okay.
I just did the one and a couple hearts to make it all fit.
Nice. So you had to vary it to kind of get the curve, just like I did.
Yeah.
Because I did the 2 shape, and there's a 3, and then a 3, just to kind of spread that out a little bit as we went around that arc. Nice. Did a nice job.
Thank you.
Nice little filigree there on the end. I like that little twang. So very good. Let's see the side by side. I think they look good.
Pretty close.
Very
Yeah,
nice. Nicely done. And you can also see, folks, here the contrast. Where I've inked mine in, and Gayle has not, and she may, or as she goes on, just like I did, or she may choose to do something different. But it's just kind of neat where we can see those differences and how they come together differently.
Yeah, I haven't decided yet.
That's all right. No decisions necessary, right? We can just have fun with this whole project. Well, there we go. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We appreciate it so very much, and we hope you're having fun drawing along with us. And remember, like I said at the beginning, don't give up. Keep on trucking. We'll get this done, and we'll be glad we did. All right, folks, take care. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.